Guys, do you struggle finding jeans that are comfortable and the perfect fit? Then you gotta try Mott & Bow. Mott & Bow jeans are beautifully handcrafted. They use only the finest denim fabrics from the best mills in the world. Family artisans have been honing their denim skills for 35 years, and this is evident the second you put on the first pair. Mott & Bow jeans are ridiculously comfortable with a classic, clean style. And get this, they're at least half the price of designer jeans of some of the same quality that sell for over $200. Mott & Bow is also currently the only jean company on the market to offer a free home try-on program. Just choose your first pair, along with an alternate waist size. They'll send you both pairs so you can decide which is the best fit for you. Then send the other one back free. Just try Mott & Bow today, and you'll notice a difference between them and every other pair of jeans you own, yeah, even the ones you have on right now. For 20% off your first purchase, visit mottandbow.com and enter the code MIKE at checkout. That's spelled MOTTANDBOW.com, promo code MIKE.
It's time for some straight talk. The big wireless companies charge a boatload for their superior network coverage. But guess what? Straight Talk uses the same cell towers but charges a lot less. Who knew? Well, now you do. And I do. So let's do something. It's time to switch to Straight Talk. Unlimited plans start as low as $35 a month on America's largest, most dependable networks. Straight Talk Wireless. Only at Walmart.
Savings may vary. A month equals 30 days. Please refer always to the latest terms and conditions of service at straighttalk.com.
On a Friday, we got Will Cain, and I'm Ryen Russillo in for the guys. Hoping to get ready for the weekend. We've gone over a ton of the NFL stuff, including the Thursday night result. Richard Sherman out with that Achilles injury. Done a little basketball, but really excited now to be joined by former NFL vet, 15 years in the league, Matt Birk, and more importantly, Special Forces and a new TV show, Art Pugh on Outside TV. It's Heroes in the Wild.
More importantly.
Well,
man, you already got
Veterans Day.
All right.
You know, Matt, you've been on the show a bunch
you
of
have
times.
your day.
I'm the rookie here. So
Art, I want to get to your background. I want to get everything. I'm always fascinated by you guys in a way like, I don't know if jealousy is the right word, but you know, you get it. You get it. Like, man, this guy's actually like he's a real tough guy. But what was the origin here of this show where you're paired up as a Special Forces guy with a former NFL player and you're just outside trying to live in the wild?
Yeah, well, Outside TV and After the Impact Fund came together to create this digital show. And with the work that After the Impact Fund is doing, pairing athletes with veterans that have so many similarities. There's so many things in my past and Matt's past that are alike, and our drive, our motivation, our desire to win, to be the best, and it's the same in the military and in athletics. And so putting these two populations together and putting us out there in front of the public to show the similarities and show that, hey, there's a healing process that's needed as well.
So what specifically did you two guys do together? Tell us the experience you guys shared.
Yeah, so we got dropped in the middle of the Moab Desert and did a little camping and then went on a canyoneering adventure, which I'd never done before. Art's a little more seasoned, but it's kind of about getting out there, kind of getting real, getting outside our comfort zone, doing some bonding and challenging ourselves a little bit. At least I certainly found it challenging.
What is canyoneering, Matt?
Going through canyons. There's climbing. There's rappelling, or in my case, the first time free falling. That's no joke. I actually had to be bailed out on the rappel line once. But
so what's that? Give me exactly what happens with rappelling, because it's your first time you've ever done it.
First time I'd ever done it. Got a quick class, and
you ever heard it was 10 seconds?
Maybe a little brief.
Maybe 10 seconds. And so Art and I were going down at the same time. He'd done it a million times. He's jumping out of airplanes and helicopters and defending our country. I'm just out in the field on Sundays. Nothing dangerous compared to what he did, and started going down the face of a rock, and all of a sudden I was going a lot faster than I wanted to, and I couldn't stop. Not a good feeling, but I'm here, so success.
Yeah.
How bad was it?
That the big one?
It was awesome. So I mean, Matt was a stud, because I mean this is his first time, and I don't care who you are, you're standing on the cliff. It's intimidating.
160 foot.
So I go off the side first. Matt comes off next. He's just cool, composed, rocking and rolling. Then all of a sudden I look over and just this little bit of fear, and I see his forearm, and it is just, Matt's a big guy, just pulsing. And rappelling is not a muscle game. It's all just leverage, some basic physics, and next thing I know, he's gone. And it was I was like, oh, this could be. We just turned this into a real world situation here. This is getting nasty.
We're talking with Art Pugh, former Army Special Forces Green Beret, Bronze Star Medal recipient. Obviously, Matt Birk as well. Will Cain, Ryen Russillo on Mike and Mike today. Your background, how did the motivation, the start of your military career?
Yeah, I'd always had a drive and a passion to go in the military. Just that inner willingness and need to serve. You know, it was self-driven. I mean, it was something I wanted to do, and
Where
I
you
wanted
from?
to do it with the best. Charlotte, North Carolina.
Okay.
Yeah, so grew up in a military family my dad was in, and just saw the relationships he had with his buddies. And that was really what it was all about for me initially. And I wanted to go in, and I wanted to go work with the best. And so I was very fortunate to get in, go right into Special Forces training, somehow, some way made it through.
How do you – okay, because whenever you look at, like, Special Forces guys, we all have this idea that, like, it's the Punisher, right? Everybody rolls through, okay? And you probably – well, you definitely – it's not probably – how do you look at guys, and it's the mental makeup, it's not bigger, it's not stronger. Like, how do you identify this is somebody who can make it through all this stuff, and this guy's not going to make it?
It is – it just – Matt and I were talking about this last night. It's don't ever judge a book by its cover, because I saw some of the biggest studs that were the most unassuming guys. I mean, guys that are 130 pounds put a rucksack on their back that was equal to their weight and move out and do laps around me. I mean, it's an intestinal fortitude. It's all about desire, the will, the heart. And, I was shocked. So these big studs that come out there, you know, if they don't have it here, it's not going to happen. And so it's just that don't quit attitude. And I don't care how big you are, how small you are. They coin us as the quiet professionals, and it's something that resonates true throughout the organization.
Speaking of that, Art, doing this, I understand part of it was honoring one of your fallen buddies, one of your fallen comrades, Green Beret, Chris Falco. Tell us his story.
So Chris is was an outstanding guy. Went through basic training at the same time, and then throughout Special Forces qualification course, which is about a 2-year process. So Chris and my core group of guys, we were close. And Chris was one of those guys, he was a good bit younger than us, so we ribbed him a lot about it. But he was one of those guys that was on a trajectory to just do amazing things in the military. He was going to be a sergeant major, and he was in Afghanistan 2005 and lost his life. And it's a tragic story, but Chris died doing what he loved. I mean, he was born, God put him on this earth to be a Green Beret, and that's what he did, and he excelled at it.
The show, again, Outside TV's Heroes in the Wild. We're talking to Art Pugh, former Army Special Forces, and we got Matt Birk with us. So the concept here, you can stream this show right now up on OutsideTV.com, Heroes in the Wild. What was the hardest part for you, Matt? Other than almost dying rappelling.
I mean, that was that was the hardest part. I mean, the whole thing. I mean, I'm an outdoors
How many
guy.
days was it?
It's about 2.5 days we were out there. I mean, sleeping under the stars. I'd never done anything like that. And so I think doing something that I knew I wasn't going to be very good at, that was going to challenge me, and then doing it with a guy who obviously I have the utmost respect for. And, I mean, he was Art's pretty seasoned out there, pretty comfortable. But I was like, you know, I can't let Art down. I can't lag behind. You know, I got to keep up. And it kind of brought me back to my playing days where you know you're going to go out there and, hey, this is going to be hard. I'm going to have to push myself, but no matter what, I'm going to have to get through it.
You just said you had to be in shape to do this now. So you made news when you retired. You lost what, 75 pounds?
Something like that. Yeah.
How long did it take you to lose those pounds?
Well, I did it pretty quickly. I wouldn't advise doing that, but it was about 4 months. Yeah.
Wait a minute. What was, now that you look back on it, what do you wish you had done different?
I wish I wouldn't have spray tanned. That was definitely a bad life choice. Or taking a picture with my shirt off, because the internet is eternal.
Wait, so before you took that picture of losing all that weight, and everybody said you were ripped, there was a spray tan involved?
Oh, absolutely. It was. I actually went spray tanning twice, and There will not be a third time.
You didn't
ever.
do it before canyoneering with Art?
I didn't. No. I didn't feel like I needed to look that good for Art to be out in the wild with them.
So, we got that one up on TV right now.
Thank you for showing that.
Actually, outstanding.
Appreciate it.
I'm going to tell you, I think we should tweet that out from Mike and Mike, and
please
you
do.
can get some likes.
That'd be
some
great.
Favorites.
Is there a hole I can crawl into?
Well, I'm glad you left the spray tan thing off, because I was looking at the resume, the application here for Outside TV. And had you said that, you would have been disqualified.
Probably. Yeah, no.
So, are you going to do this with more NFL guys? Is that how this is going to work, or is it? I mean, what's the plan here for getting guys out?
Yeah, that's the plan. So we're going to put more athletes, more veterans out there, put them through this. It's going to be experimental. There are going to be additional things kayaking, mountaineering, surfing, you name it. I mean, these guys at Outside TV have done an outstanding job putting this together.
And ultimately, what we're trying to do is raise awareness and funds for After the Impact Fund, which Art and I both serve on the board. And what After the Impact Fund does is we create custom treatment plans for military veterans and former NFL players who are suffering from TBI and PTSD. And what we found is when you pair the populations together in treatment, they actually heal better, stronger, and faster. And I don't want to compare what we do as football players to what these guys do, but we are wired similarly, and there's a mutual respect there. And because that respect exists, the healing process goes that much better.
Ryan and I have talked about this on his show, and I picked up on this with a book by Eric Greitens, who's now, I think, the governor of Missouri, and he was a former Navy SEAL, and he talked about the fact that one of the things that Special Forces guys deal with at the end of their careers is a complete shift and sometimes lack in purpose. And that's something that happens to professional athletes as well. I'm highly trained, highly capable in this one specific aspect of life that I succeed at, and I'm at the best of my profession, the best in the world. And then overnight, it's gone, and you have to redefine that purpose. So I think my estimation is there's a lot of shared experience there between your two groups.
You're 100% right. Yeah, I mean, I think that both populations struggle to some extent, some worse than others, but struggle when you leave that. That's all you know. That's your entire life, and then you have to find a new purpose, a new mission to serve, a new team to be a part of, and sometimes you make bad decisions, like you go spray tanning.
If that's your worst decision, Matt, I think you're going to be okay. Matt Birk, 15 years in the NFL, Art Pugh, former Army Special Forces, Green Beret. Art, do you mind opening up about the end of your career and going through everything, and then just kind of like I've seen movies, man. I mean, so we try to pretend we act like it's like just be reacclimated society, but I just can't imagine what it's like trying to turn that switch off.
No, it's real. I mean, you think what the military does. The military is there to train us to be effective fighters, but they're not there to train us in how to adjust to civilian life. And the same with football. I mean, y'all nailed it. I mean, guys play football. I played football up through college, and I wasn't good, but when you're good, I mean, it's your life. And I mean, Matt and other guys, they spend so much of their time playing football, and their world is revolved around football. When football ends and that uniform comes off, just like in the military, you're thrown out there to the real world, and it's a tough transition. That sense of community, that's the number one issue. You lose the community, you lose that friendship in the military. You know where to be, what uniform to be in, and what time you need to be there, and that's it. And you're always told that. The second you walk off that base, that structure's gone, and it's a tough transition. But that's where After the Impact Fund is pairing like-minded individuals and addressing some of these issues. Because Matt and I lived it. We were very fortunate to come out of our careers intact, but yet there was so much that we bonded over in our experience with Outside TV and Heroes in the Wild, and we're hoping to duplicate that.
Yeah, purpose is an underrated aspect of the entire population's depression or existence, or not just those that are highly trained. So again, it's Outside TV's Heroes in the Wild, following one military veteran, one former professional athlete as they go out on adventures. For you guys, it was the Moab Desert. Is there a celebrity threshold? Maybe, I don't know, like a number of Twitter followers. I don't know how you measure it. Q rating. Like, how do you get in? How big a celebrity? Is it just pro athletes? Because I'm trying to get Ryan. He's expressed some interest.
Oh, it was me? You just switched it up.
Ryan, come on, buddy.
It's for you. It's for you.
I need more of a repelling lesson than 10 seconds.
Yeah, you do. Yeah, you do.
Yeah, but don't worry. We'll set you up.
Guys, thanks a lot, especially with everything that's been going on this week. And I think there is more awareness now. I've got friends, David Babora, who's a guy who played in the NFL, and he's helping guys to get through stuff. Nate Boyer, somebody that we've got to meet.
Yeah, Nate's a great guy.
I do think, despite how challenging this is, there's more just people that are involved in trying to make that transition easier for our vets. And I hope you guys see that, because that's at least the way I feel about it. So this is a big part of it. Again, it's Outside TV's Heroes in the Wild. Art Pugh, thank you so much for everything. And Matt Birk stopping by today.
Thanks, guys.
Thank y'all very much.
Tim Tebow scheduled to join us a little bit later. I say that because he's a busy guy. We'll go over some of the college football playoff stuff and more on the quarterback carousel with this offseason, the free agents, the trades, and the top of the draft. Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, Mike and Mike on ESPN Radio and ESPN2.
Hey everyone, Mike Golick here. Support for the Mike and Mike podcast comes from our friends at Rocket Mortgage by Quicken Loans. Chances are you're confident when it comes to your work, your hobbies, your life. Rocket Mortgage gives you that same level of confidence when it comes to buying a home or refinancing your existing home loan. Rocket Mortgage is simple, allowing you to fully understand all the details and be confident you're getting the right mortgage for you. To get started, go to rocketmortgage.com/Mikes. Equal housing lender, licensed in all 50 states, NMLS, consumeraccess.org number 3030.
Hey girl, have you done something new with your scales? Using new moisturizer? Nice. It really brings out the hazel in your eyes. Oh, hold on. Are you using whitening strips too? Your fangs look good, girl. Really good.
A really charming snake charmer? Surprising. What's not surprising? How much you could save by switching to Geico.
Wait, what? Have you been doing Pilates too?
Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more.
Tim Tebow scheduled to join us a little bit later here, talking some college ball. Is a massive slate, maybe the slate that decides really who's going to be getting into this playoff. Still with some time to go here. But we do want to get you updated on a story from yesterday that has more developments today from the NFL, and that is Martellus Bennett, cut by the Packers, a dispute about the injury, not disclosing his injury, so the Packers are trying to get some of this money back from the signing bonus. He was claimed by the Pats. The Pats have had some red zone challenges offensively. But now we're learning, this is according to Adam Schefter, that Bennett has been playing with a torn rotator cuff and a torn labrum. Again, first reported by NFL Network, confirmed by ESPN's Adam Schefter. So what does that mean? It means that he didn't disclose this to the Packers. The Packers are going to have some kind of argument. That part of it I actually think is more interesting long-term than just what Bennett means for the second half of the season for the Pats.
Yeah, and so in claiming Bennett, this is from the story, the Patriots inherit a 3-year, $21 million contract that he signed with the Packers. If the Patriots don't pick up a $2 million bonus early in 2018, Bennett will become a free agent again. Are the Patriots really on the hook for that entire contract? That cannot be. Right?
No. In claiming him, it's the language in the 3-year, $21 million contract.
Right.
If they don't pick up a $2 million bonus early in 2018, Bennett becomes a free agent again, and the Pats wouldn't have any commitments on their salary cap. This is the Pats, not the Browns. So there was when I first seen the headline, they're like, man, now they're on the hook. He's got a torn labrum, and they have to pay him $21 million. And be like, this is the Pats, remember? Like, this is not a team. I don't think any NFL team would be this bad to go, it's 3 years guaranteed $21 million. No, they can get out of whatever the language is on the rest of this, especially now with the injury.
Hey, okay.
Are the Browns jokes unfair? Should I stop that?
And my question for you coming out of that little soliloquy is, are the Pats unimpeachable? Do they ever make mistakes? Now, just hold on 1 second. I like the Pats as much as the next guy. I think Bill Belichick is as great as everyone else does. They are a great organization.
You're saying a lot of obvious stuff.
Louis Riddick,
our
NFL analyst, GM, former front office guy for Philadelphia Eagles, tweeted this out the other day. Jacoby Brissett, real deal. The Colts are going to be happy they made that trade with the Patriots. And on the other end of the spectrum, you have to wonder, are the Patriots happy they made that deal to trade away Jacoby Brissett? I just want to say this. Riddick was on the Goff thing before everybody was on the Goff thing. So when he says Brissett's real, I listened.
I'm not sure about Brissett right now. Okay, he would know better than I. I think he was incredibly overrated for the success that he had in just a handful of action with the Pats. I mean, the Texans didn't cross the 50-yard line when the Pats beat them, and Brissett got all the credit in the world for that. So maybe he's developed into something here with the Colts. That's great. Congrats to the Colts, because if the luck thing doesn't work out, that's good. And, yes, you're right. It makes you go, wait a minute. If Brissett was good and you couldn't figure out a deal with Garoppolo, why would you want to lose Brissett when you're the guys that liked him enough to draft him in the first place?
Exactly.
And you had a nice little college run.
For Philip Dorsett.
Why not have some depth here for a receiver? They're not using a ton. If you're asking me if I'm giving you a 100% approval rating on every Belichick decision he's been in the league, I'm not that guy. I'm the one guy for a while there going, he's overrated in the draft. He had a stretch there for a few years where you go, where are the keepers? Where's the secondary? He had a really hard time building a secondary. But you're going to lose a lot of money doubting Belichick. The long play, doubting him, doubting the moves that don't make any sense, you're going to end up being wrong more often than he's going to be wrong.
Yeah, he may not be 100%, but he might be 75.
It's like asking, okay, whenever we do this stuff, and you go, well, which GM's great? You go, well, guy, he took this guy. You go, so we're doing this now? If you had a bad draft pick in the NFL or the NBA, you can't be a good GM? Because all of them have bad picks.
Look, I learned lessons, so maybe lessons come harder for you, but you might pump the brakes on your Brissett take because you and I have ushered apologies on our Goff takes.
We have both.
This week, I think.
Every week. Well, we've had to apologize almost every week because I wondered, everything's telling us bust, but I thought 7 games is too soon, and you just came off the top rope. You didn't even tag in, and you go, he's done. He's a bust. But see, Belichick.
I did not. You're rewriting history there.
I'm not. I'm getting too much heat because of your aggressive takes.
That's not true. I did ask Riddick in the offseason, what could the Rams get for Goff right now? By the way, it wasn't a friendly answer. Well, Riddick said at that time, and he's reflecting what the market was, not how good Goff is. Maybe a fourth-round pick? Now look at Jared Goff.
Yeah, see, if you're asking me, has Belichick ever made a mistake, Stephon Gilmore doesn't look like a great investment, and they're the team that never spends. And the other times that they've spent, when Belichick's been in Foxborough, Adelius Thomas from the Ravens, total flame-out. Didn't work. You could even, like, Rosie Colvin was the first ever big-time expenditure, and he was good. I love Rosie Colvin, but he was hurt. So I'm going deep dive, Pat's history. How many people are still listening? Put your hands up. All right.
Too soon, too hot takes. Okay, next, Lonzo Ball. He's done.
Are we doing Lonzo Ball? Would that be a Worlds Collide thing if we had Tebow on to ask him about Lonzo Ball?
Yes, let's do it. Tebow, what do you think of Lonzo so far? Panic button? Yes or no?
2 SEC schools or Lonzo Rookie of the Year?
2 SEC schools, way more likely.
Way more likely at this point. Yeah, Tatum's got that. No, Simmons is going to with Rookie of the Year. All right, so we're going to have our man Tebow with us here very shortly. Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. All of our guests on the Shell Pennzoil Performance Line. And a reminder to tune in to our college football action tomorrow as Michigan State battles the Ohio State University, presented by Dr. Pepper. Coverage begins at 8:30 Eastern on ESPN Radio, ESPNRadio.com, and the ESPN app. I noticed a slight eye roll when I did the Ohio State.
No, I didn't give you that.
You didn't?
Mm-mm.
Maybe I'm not reading you right here. It's in the script. Okay. There's really not much I can do.
All right.
So we're going to ask Tebow about this, and we've touched on this a little bit here. Maybe we will ask him a Lonzo question. Is that the most Tebow mania type question we could ask Tebow?
What, just to try to get the biggest viral .com hit stories to hit together at the same time?
Tebow says, be patient with Lonzo Ball. Would that make everybody thrilled?
You might throw Kaepernick in there, and then we could have a whole thing. Like Tebow, Kaepernick, LeVar. Can you do that?
Yeah, I'm trying to think of the question. How can you ask Tebow a question about those other two subjects that would somehow align? I don't know. All I'm thinking of is just stuff that's not going to go over well, so I'm just going to pass on that whole deal. Your weekend, we went through those games. The game you want to see the most, Notre Dame, Miami, or TCU, Oklahoma?
Neither. Georgia, Auburn.
Why?
Because I think that's a real threat to upset the top of the apple cart. I think Auburn, Jarrett Stidham has played great. Auburn's got a real offense now. Auburn is, of the teams, underrated. And Georgia, with a wonderful win against Notre Dame, I think has a real test on their hand. I don't know. And I just like SEC. I'm not the SEC guy. I'm a Big 12 guy. But I do like watching some SEC football. By the way, let me ask you this. No matter how you shake it, in our top 8 rankings, teams that have a legit shot to make the college football Final Four, we're going to have an indictment on at least, 2 of them this weekend? Notre Dame or Miami is going to be out. They will no longer be part of this debate going forward.
Notre Dame will be out. There's maybe a chaotic way Miami would find their way back into this thing. They'd be a one-loss ACC champ, say, if they beat Clemson.
Miami loses to Notre Dame, comes back, beats Clemson.
The fun thing to do is every Monday, done. If this ends up going weird, you can't start crossing these teams off. Like, everybody's gone Pac-12, done. It's not great.
TCU, the loser, done. Yes. All
right, we got Tim Tebow joining us now, Shell Pennzoil Performance Line, our SEC college football analyst. Morning, Tim. What's up, man?
Stand by, Tim. What's going on, buddy? How you doing?
It's good to see you. Haven't talked to you in a while. So let's start there. Which teams have you been comfortable with writing off at this point as we look at the rankings and how they've come out now week 2?
Oh, that's a tough question. I heard y'all's conversation before we came back from the break, and I do think it's going to be really tough for a Pac-12 team to be able to get in it besides Washington. I think Washington has the easiest road. Besides that, I think it's going to be really tough, and I think they're going to need a lot of help. I think they're going to need chaos. But the good thing is this is college football, and I think there will be chaos leading down the stretch.
Tim, Washington, as you mentioned, there's so many doubts because of the conference, and they have that loss. But Wisconsin's more of a doubt because of the schedule, and we're still talking an undefeated team. We've come up with scenarios that would be tougher for them to get in, but do you have a fundamental belief about an undefeated Power 5 conference champ?
No, I don't have a fundamental belief because we are told to evaluate the 4 best teams and put in the 4 best teams. If Wisconsin, if they don't look like a great team down the stretch and they're undefeated, then I do think they're going to get knocked because they didn't play anybody. And it's not these players' fault. It's the administration's fault for not facing a good opponent. And, I do think that Wisconsin can prove something down the stretch because I think Ohio State will bounce back, look good this weekend, and they will be a 2-loss team. And if Wisconsin can upset Ohio State or Penn State, whoever makes it, then I think that could be a good win for them. But I think Wisconsin's going to need help as well. I think it's going to take chaos in the SEC and in the ACC to give Wisconsin a chance to get in.
Tim, the debate we were having right before we jumped on with you is whether or not by the end of this weekend, 2 teams currently in the debate for the college football playoffs will be out of the debate by the end of the weekend. And obviously the 2 games I think that impact that the most are Notre Dame, Miami, and TCU, OU. All 4 of those teams are currently in the debate. Will the loser of those 2 games, the 2 losers, be out of it?
Well, I think for sure the TCU OU. I think because they don't have the strength of schedule, the strength of record to be able to bounce back. I think if you have a Miami team that loses close and they can still bounce back and beat a Clemson, you could still make an argument, especially if they look good down the stretch. For Notre Dame, their loss was a quality loss, so you could still make an argument if a lot of chaos happened. But I don't think you could make the same argument for an OU or a TCU. Especially at TCU.
Right. So Miami seems to be the main one in that equation who could survive a loss under the right circumstances.
Because it's only 1 loss, and they got a chance to redeem themselves against a big-time Clemson team, and that would be a big win. One of the best wins in college football.
How big a test is Auburn for Georgia this weekend?
I think they're a huge test. I think it being here at Auburn, I think Auburn finding a passing game. I think Auburn's defense is for real. I think they're an underrated football team. The FPI has Auburn winning this game. I think it's going to be a big-time team. I think they're a big-time team. I think it's going to be a big-time game. I think Auburn has been underrated this entire season. And if you look at the way they played Clemson with a quarterback who hadn't played in 15 months or whatever and was playing his second game, they played Clemson really tough in Death Valley. And, I think this team has improved the entire year, and they're going to give Georgia a heck of a game. The good thing that Georgia has going for them is that the physicality travels, and they're going to travel to the Plains, and they're going to be the more physical team on the offense and defensive front. And I think if they're able to stop the big play from Jared Stidham, they're going to win the football game. And if you look at what Auburn does well, and the reason that they've won out of their 4 big games in the second half, they've either completed 2 big touchdowns or they've been 0 for 5 on 20 pass plays or more. And that's going to decide this game because they're not going to win at the line of scrimmage. But when they get those one-on-ones down the field with Will Hastings, do they convert? They were 0 for 4 against LSU. They were 0 for 1 against Clemson. They lost both those games. But against Mississippi State, they hit and they converted. Against A&M, they hit and they converted. That will be the biggest difference maker in this game.
We're talking with Tim Tebow here, SEC Network. Will Cain, Ryen Russillo in for the mics on ESPN Radio. Has Urban Meyer reached out to you to give a speech to the Buckeyes?
We do talk, and you know that we talk all the time.
What's wrong with this team? What happened to the Ohio State Buckeyes?
Well, you say that after 1 loss. The week before, they had an amazing comeback, and he was pumped. And we talked first thing that Sunday morning, and he was so excited. And then this last week, it took a little longer for us to talk.
It's 55
honestly,
points to Iowa.
He was
that's what was surprising.
Yeah,
I'm sorry.
And honestly, it was surprising to me, and he was shocked by it. And I promise you, if you were around the program this past week, you would have understand the stress in his voice and the pressure he's putting on every single coach and every person in that organization. And I think you're going to see a team play with absolute fire and motivation this week because it has been a tough week for them in practice. And I can guarantee you that. And I think you're going to see a different team. I think you'll see Ohio State respond.
I know the other SEC matchup here with Bama, Mississippi State. Bama definitely taking some injuries, that linebacking core. Give me a player in that game that you think is the guy that we most need to watch out for.
It has to be Nick Fitzgerald. I know it doesn't sound good because he's the quarterback, but it has to be Nick Fitzgerald. You look at the times over the last 9 years that Alabama has lost games, and it is only because an athletic quarterback has been able to make plays, extend the game, and convert on third down. That's the only chance that you have against an Alabama team because you can't match up physically for him for 60 minutes. The only team that I see in the country that has a chance of matching up physically with them is Georgia in the SEC championship. Besides that, what gives Alabama threats is an athletic quarterback. And Nick Fitzgerald has to do a great job of not forcing the football, but when he has an opportunity to move in the pocket, to be able to dart vertically, get a first down, continue to push the sticks, and gain more possessions that way. And eventually, you get a couple running plays going, and then you get play action over the top. It's the biggest chance that Mississippi State has, but also you got to look. Dan Mullen has coached some good games against Alabama, but he's going to have to coach a heck of a one because top to bottom, they're just not as good as Alabama.
We got Tim Tebow with us, talking Nick Fitzgerald in the zone, brought to you by AutoZone. Get in the zone, AutoZone. Final thought before we go, and this is a complete, off the rails here from what we're doing college football-wise, but I've spent so many hours, Tim, talking about you and your football career on the air because we became obsessed talking about Tim Tebow. Every Monday you'd win, we'd come in and just shrug. We're like, I don't know what's going on either. There's so much attention paid to Lonzo Ball because of the family, because of the Lakers, the whole deal. I want you to talk, what would you say to Lonzo about all of the hype that really isn't of his own doing?
Yeah, it's not on him at all, but I think you can watch the way that grown men have tried to play against him, and he's getting everybody's best shot. He's getting the little extra shoves. He's getting the pressure. I mean, against other guys, when maybe they would back off or they would give a shot or they wouldn't go as hard, against him, they're going as hard as they can. He's facing guys' best defense. He's facing their best stuff. They want to get an extra shove. They want to get an extra bump because of everything that they have heard. And you have to put that on his pops. I mean, he's making it harder for his son. And I think you saw that from game one. And honestly, I think it's something that's going to make Lonzo better in the long run. But I think it's a little tougher right now.
You're the best, man. You are the best. That was a really great breakdown. Nice. Not that I'd expect anything else. Enjoy it. SEC Network. It's Tim Tebow, the man. All right, buddy.
See you guys.
Right now, Tim Tebow is taking his earpiece out going, they asked me about Lonzo Ball. And bravo to you, man. I mean, you the only failure is you didn't fit Kaepernick in. You got 2 of the 3 in. You just didn't manage to fit Kaepernick into the equation for the ultimate sports radio question.
But what do? Do you go, hey, Tim, just before we let you go, who plays in what first? Lonzo All-Star game, Kaepernick for an NFL team. That was
Good.
It.
That was the one.
I want so badly. Now is he done? He's still listening and he's laughing.
Put him back in if he is.
Hey, we left a question out. I can't
Let's go.
wait.
What is it?
Oh no, Tebow's still here.
Don't do this,
Tebow,
man.
Kaepernick, your thoughts?
Don't play along.
You guys are unbelievable. I can't take you anywhere. What am I going to do with you?
Now, see, Tim's going to be mad. He's going to be mad at me now. Hey, I think
No,
I'm.
I'm
I think.
not.
All right,
I'm
all
never
right.
mad at you.
I know you like.
Now you're mad. They piped him down. Right, he was talking.
I just can't wait until one of your segments on First Take today is coming up next. Will Cain on Tebow says, "Back off of Lonzo Ball."
I'm going to turn that into a debate today.
All right, we got more coming up here. We're going to head to break right now. Mike and Mike, ESPN Radio, Will Cain, Ryen Russillo, Jerry Jones could be serving papers to the NFL by the end of the day. It's ESPN Radio. Ryen Russillo of The Russillo Show on ESPN Radio and Will Cain, my co-host 3 days a week in the afternoon, in for Mike and Mike today on ESPN Radio, presented by Progressive Insurance. We got Forward Thinking coming up here in a little bit. But before we move on any further, as we close out the show today, get you ready for the weekend, a great college football slate, all that stuff ahead. The biggest news, at least long-term for the NFL, is Jerry Jones. And as we know, as the news leaked out this week, that Jerry Jones told the NFL, if you guys go forward with an extension for Roger Goodell for this amount of money, just unchallenged, I will serve you papers, meaning Jones would sue the NFL, and he slated his schedule as this is happening on a Friday, which is today.
And oh, by the way, I've hired one of the highest profile attorneys in the entire nation, David Boies, to figure out how to sort this whole thing out, because I'm coming for you. Jerry Jones is burning the boats. I mean, this is all-out Clash of the Titans war, because this isn't Jerry Jones versus Roger Goodell. This is Jerry Jones against the other NFL owners, most pointedly Arthur Blank, owner of the Atlanta Falcons, who's the chairman of that compensation committee that Jerry has now accused of misleading other owners on Goodell's contract.
Yeah, that's his point. He goes, it's 6 of you owners, compensation committee. He called himself the 7th honorary member. And he's like, by the way, I may be suing everybody. And they go, well, guess what? You're not like the pretend 7th member anymore. You have to stop talking to us. Yeah, and then Jones gets on the blower with 17 other owners, conference call going, yeah, we're being misled. I've heard it called heard it called a scare tactic, that there's no real legal basis for this. Service paper. I mean, anybody can sue anybody if they want to, but is this actually going to enact some kind of change? Does this mean Roger Goodell's job is in jeopardy? Does it mean his future is forever damaged, or is Jerry grandstanding here? People think that Jerry's only doing this because of Ezekiel Elliott. I don't think that's necessarily the case. I think it's pretty simple. It's something we've discussed today. It is an odd work dynamic. The person who was the commissioner who we were talking about actually is still reporting to the 32 owners that are all more important than him, that all make more money than him, that gave him the job. So yeah, here's your $40 million or sometimes $30 million a year. That's a really great gig, but we could probably find somebody else to do it for less that stops telling us we're wrong all the time. That's always been it's not like the commissioner is in charge of the people that are in charge of him. That's not
ain't gonna work. Right.
It's not normally how the work flow chart goes.
Exactly. And Ryan, that is what I think this is. It's a resetting of the work flow chart. No one wants to hear this, but people don't want to hear this in the way they don't like hearing the truth, because it hurts. The biggest insight, I think, into what this entire fight, lawsuit, threat is about came from Bob McNair in that Seth Wickersham, Don Van Naur article, when he said, infamously in that quote, "We cannot have the inmates running the prison," which was a faux pas of the actual cliche, "We cannot have the inmates running the asylum." McNair was using that as an analogy of subordinates telling superiors what to do, right? Now, after the fact, McNair said, no, I wasn't talking about the players. I was talking about the league office. Either way you cut it, whether or not he was talking about the league office or the players, the truth is, for many owners, that's what they're trying to reset. No, we're in charge. We paid billions of dollars for these assets. We're dictating the rules. And Roger Goodell, I don't care if he makes $40 million a year, doesn't get to tell me how I run my business. And so I have one, the television ratings are dipping and sponsorships are pulling out. I might look and go, you know what? Let's just get a quick reminder here. I'm in charge, not you.
If there were a different commissioner in charge, okay? So if I was negotiating against Goodell, if I'm Jerry Jones, I go, hey, you know what? I like you, Roger. I got you in power. But I'm really more powerful than you. And that's the other irony of this whole deal, is that some owners resent Jerry Jones for giving Goodell too much power, and now Goodell may sue because he doesn't like the power that that Jones may sue, that Goodell has too much power now. The relocation thing, you go back and read that story. Hey, what are the rules? Don't worry about it. Just move out to L.A., start building stuff. We'll worry about it later. And that's exactly what happened there. That's exactly what happened in Vegas, that Jerry Jones was so powerful in doing all this stuff. In that meeting from the Wickersham piece, apparently after the players talked with a group of owners about the protests, then the owners went and talked with Jerry Jones about it, and he heard everybody talk. Dan Snyder started talking. People started talking about money and sponsorships. Then Jerry goes, all right, I'm the longest tenured member here. And it's just like, man, he's constantly reminding people, everybody, how in charge he is and how powerful he is. But if it was a different commissioner in charge, how different do you think the anthem thing would be handled?
I don't know. And that's the thing where I can express some sympathy for Roger Goodell. There aren't easy answers. There may not even be good answers. There probably isn't happy endings to any of these situations.
The idea that all these other people that could be commissioner would have handled this really delicate, sensitive, societal issue better. Again, I think Roger suffers from the fact that he's not a great public speaker, but I wanted rapid fire on these because I got a bunch of them, right? Player conduct.
Right.
Everybody's mad at Goodell for it, but this is, again, punishment that the league gave him in the CBA, and it was in the aftermath of so many NFL players getting into trouble that everybody was on board with it. They were like, we want more penalties. We want more suspensions.
Right.
We want you to give Ray Rice more than 2 games. And then he tried to do that with Ezekiel Elliott, and now he's out of control. What about the television ratings?
Do I think Roger Goodell or any other commissioner could actually fix that? Well, no. But to the extent that we believe it's tied somehow to the anthem protests, I can imagine the owners feel like he could have by throwing the hammer down, which is what they want him to do.
And I can understand why he didn't, because his approval rating has taken such a hit. And he goes, you know what, maybe.
Forget his approval rating. He might be actually saying, if I threw the hammer down, I made a rule there best to stand, you guys' business might be under complete mutiny. Players will not appreciate that rule.
Yeah, it's going to get worse. So I understand your business interest owners, but it's still a league of 1,500 players, and I know that you're in charge. And I do think that we kind of lose sight, at least as we become more and more modern. We challenge the authority structure so much. We're like, well, why does that happen? Why do I have to do this? Because you work for that person. That's its job. That's what it's called.
I honestly think that's some of these owners' perspective. These are complex things that can be solved simply. Do what I tell you to do. Power at some point becomes simple. Hey, Roger, solve this. How? Make a rule.
And I can understand him not making a rule for the public perception of Goodell. Or maybe, here's just a great thought. What if he actually is sympathetic to the players and hears their side of the argument and goes, I actually don't want to make a rule? And that's what I keep trying to tell the owners. That Wickersham piece also had that exchange where the players are talking to the owners. They set up the seating so that it wasn't owners on one side and players on the other side like it always is. And Roger started saying, everybody sit next to each other. And Goodell goes, you're not listening to these guys. You're not listening to these guys. It sounded as if Roger was becoming a more sympathetic player advocate throughout this whole deal. The rest of the stuff that you can get on him for, like, what are you going to do? Russell Wilson may have had a concussion last night. Now everybody's concussion awareness mad from a Thursday night game because he came out of the tent too soon. Is that actually Roger Goodell's fault?
Let me ask you a question. If this is Jerry Jones versus Arthur Blank, and this weekend the Dallas Cowboys are playing the Atlanta Falcons in Atlanta.
They fight at halftime. Let's do it.
Well, that would be entertaining. How about this more realistic option? Does Jerry get a guest suite at the Falcons game this weekend?
Yeah, I think these guys all kind of understand the rules that they're playing by, that it's understood, owner to owner. That's quite a fraternity.
He's threatened to sue me. He said I'm lying. He said I've misconstrued things and misled all the other owners in the NFL. Give him the one towards the end zone. What does he do?
Give him the one with that bad angle.
Right.
You know, that stuff to get a couple banners, put up a big banner over there. Yeah, I think it's understood. I don't think you would actually.
Would that be like, that would be a declaration of war?
You think Jerry would let us know? He goes,
well,
we got some
because they'll have a
standing
camera
room.
shot.
How many? We'll get you for face. Here in Section 12. Forward Thinking brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit us at geico.com or call 1-800-947-AUTO. Coming up this weekend on ESPN Radio, the Packers travel to take on division rival Chicago. Taking on the Bears. Coverage begins at noon Eastern on ESPN Radio. That'll do it for us. Thanks to Will Cain. I'm Ryen Russillo. The Russillo Show, they got Adnan and Vilma a little bit later. You're running over to First Take.
Yep.
Everybody have a great weekend. And the final week of Mike and Mike next week right here on ESPN Radio.